All right, so where are we at in this fund investment? Well, geopolitical or geopolitics and geopolitical events could play a factor in this. Iraq's news is very difficult to study. Most content creators don't really have solid information to go on right now. I know I sure don't. I'm just looking at I dive in really deep on the news. Right now, what the news is telling us, everything's kind of in limbo. The overall credibility about the political news isn't credible. They're talking in circles. They're stating that a disagreement on the prime minister is what's delaying the completion step within parliament of voting on the president, which I know isn't true. Okay. They could very easily complete, and then they kind of from some other angles talk about how the two different groups, political blocs or groups within the Kurdistan region can't reach an agreement on a single unified candidate. Well, that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, historically in the past, another route or option they could go on the president is to each of the political blocs within Kurdistan can each come forward into parliament with their own preferred candidate and just go to a majority vote in parliament. That doesn't prevent them not reaching a unified agreement on a single individual, doesn't prevent them from actually going to vote. Because again, they could bring forward just individual candidates and do a majority vote through parliament. So one thing we have to watch is based on the period we're approaching right now in the second half of the month, which is the most critical, to see if the actions of what the U.S. government and military are doing with Iran is possibly a delay or factor in this, because the Trump administration made it very clear that there will not be any type of Iranian influence within the country of Iraq. And as of right now, they're sending an additional naval ship into the region to put more military tension on to Iran. Their second meeting within the country of Iran here, let's bring that up in the news right now while we're talking about that. The second meeting will be this Tuesday of next week, and it'll be between the United States and an Iranian delegation towards reaching a nuclear agreement. I think it's in Geneva. Okay, it says either way, it's in that area, Oman, Geneva, whatever. So anyway, that's the second meeting. We'll have to see how that goes. But again, they're sending at least one additional naval ship there to increase the military tension on the country of Iran towards reaching an agreement. Okay. So we'll have to see how much closer Iraq potentially gets towards reaching an agreement politically and becoming decisive on working towards being able to do their president, or if they bring forward further suggestive delays, and continue with their political excuses. Because right now, their overall general news does not have a lot of credibility to it towards reaching, a decisive agreement on doing the president, doing the prime minister. They just, from every angle, with all of the political aspects, they're just talking in circles. Because again, now here's another factor in that. Remember, if you look at the actions of the central banks, they're a bank. Their staff are bankers. They schedule everything they do. Here's why I bring that up to you. Bankers drafted and planned what is their rate change and going international, because bankers drafted and planned that. That means the rate change date is scheduled. It's not fluid. Okay, it's planned and scheduled. So what we have to see is, we know that the formation or completion of the government is the linchpin to the timing of the rate change. I've proven that factually. So the real question is it possible that they're trying to keep us in the dark and in like an unknown level regarding the formation of the government? Because if we really knew when they were going to form the government, around what date, and would it be Maliki coming in versus a random prime minister? Okay. So again, if we knew it was, I'm sorry, not Maliki. If we knew that the prime minister would be Sudani, who has a formed, completed cabinet, they could wrap up the government by voting and announcing the president and letting the new selected, voted prime The new selected president announcing Sudani as the chosen prime minister, again, who has a currently completed cabinet, that could wrap up the government at just announcing Sudani versus bringing in an unknown prime minister or like a random prime minister who needs potentially 30 days to form his cabinet per the Constitution. So we've got to see how all this plays out to see are they just trying to keep us in the dark about the formation of the government and its timing so we don't know when they're going to change rate? Or is it the military actions of what the U.S. government is doing towards Iran? There's two different scenarios. One of those two scenarios, again, U.S. military actions towards Iran, because the Trump administration made it very clear they will not allow an Iranian influence in the country of Iraq, but because bankers drafted the rate change, and scheduling dates and timeframes to bankers is very critical. You can witness that through the actions of their central bank. They schedule everything they do. Is it they want to keep us in the dark about the timing and completion of the formation of the government so we don't know prospectively when the rate's going to change? So those are two different scenarios. We've got to see how that plays out. Let's look at the overall news just to see where it's at and then go from there. Current one, just want to see, because again, a lot of people think that Ramadan could be a prospective delay in this. I'm not of that mindset simply because I know that Kuwait reinstated their currency during their Ramadan month-long period, okay? Ramadan, from my studies as a guy that researches their news, Ramadan is a period of business as usual, especially from the angle of the government. It's just that what they do is they work a few less hours a day, allowing them to pray and fast more because it's an important religious period to them, and they take, in their culture, they take their religious very important, okay? Oops, hold on. Let me close out this view here and reopen this in its own window. All right. With the start of Ramadan, a breakthrough is expected in the presidential deadlock with the nomination of the candidate from the largest bloc. Okay, so again, right now we'll have to see how they're suggesting that possibly at the start of Ramadan, they could reach an agreement and not have this so-called political deadlock. Again, we have to wait and see just how that plays out around the middle of next week, maybe Tuesday to Thursday. See how everything politically is transpiring next Tuesday to Thursday. On the brink of the Constitution, Iraq between a political deadlock and the possibility of a grand solution. In this article here, they have a so-called constitutional deadlock. Iraq is facing escalating legal warnings due to the failure of meeting constitutional deadlines for electing the president and the prime minister. So again, they're saying that the court and judicial system might get involved if these deadlocks keep breaking constitutional time periods. And here's another one right here. This is trying to show you that a couple different things. They're showing you that there's tremendous U.S. military presence and power behind the actions of the U.S. government and Iran towards reaching a nuclear agreement, okay? Reuters reported today, Saturday, the U.S. military is preparing for the possibility of sustained military operations that could last for weeks against Iran should President Trump order an attack. Again, they would rather reach an agreement, a solid agreement, so that military action does not need to get involved. But Trump's trying to turn up the military temperature and heat with a large presence behind the country of Iran. So again, in Geneva, there will be a second round of negotiations between the United States and Iran next Tuesday. We'll see how that goes. Okay. A positive meeting took place between Barzani and Talabani to decide on the presidency of the republic and a regional government. Again, they could very easily get this into Parliament. Even if they don't reach a single unified agreement on a single candidate, they can always go to Parliament with each political bloc having their own preferred candidate towards a majority vote within Parliament. They've done that in the past. It's no big deal. It's just, again, they don't want us to know what's going on right now. They don't want us to know how close we are to the prospective timing of the rate change. Okay, they're just keeping everything in the dark right now. Relations between Washington and Kurdistan top the agenda of talks between Barzani and Rubio in Munich. In this one, there's a lot of pictures on this. Meeting at the Munich Security Conference. Let's look at the key points on this. There were discussions, U.S. relations, Iraq, Kurdistan region, expanding bilateral cooperation, regional security coordination. Barzani expressed appreciation for ongoing U.S. support to Iraq and the Kurdistan region. Rubio reaffirmed U.S. commitment to Iraq's sovereignty. See, again, they're telling you, here's the reality in this, guys. So Iraq's trying to say they have a political deadlock. Let's use the historical past in this as a solid example. In the past, in previous election periods, when the country of Iraq had real political deadlocks, both the UN and the US got involved towards intervening, jumping in the middle, and helping them break those deadlocks towards reaching agreements. Right now, the U.S. is not involved in any way, and neither is the UN. Both the U.S. and UN are completely out of the country of Iraq now, okay? And we're not involved in this so-called political deadlock. So do they really have a political deadlock? Or is this more of some kind of a scripted delay? Think about that. Again, there's no outside intervention in this between the U.S. and or the UN. So do they really have a deadlock? In my opinion, I don't think there is a deadlock. I think this is scripted and rigged. Again, I think they're either trying to mask and hide the rate change date from us so we don't really know what's going on, or the military actions towards reaching an agreement with Iran, a nuclear agreement. One of those two factors is what's so-called delaying this, okay? It's one of those two. We'll find out. We should probably have a pretty good idea, have this really gauged by around next weekend, whether it's more of the military actions with Iran or masking, using the formation of the government to mask and hide the timing of the rate change, okay? We need a little bit of time in this to really gauge this and see what's going on. All right, a delegation from the U.S. Congress affirms to Barzani their support for Iraq and the protection of the Kurdistan region. Again, this is probably at that Munich. Trying to see if this is at that Munich Security Conference. So they said in a statement, Barzani met this afternoon with U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham and a delegation accompanying him that included a number of members of the U.S. Congress as part of his ongoing meeting within the Munich Security Conference. Yeah, so they're having a big Munich Security Conference this weekend. The U.S. State Department clarifies Trump's latest stance on Maliki. U.S. State Department officials revealed the U.S. administration's firm stance on the political return of Nouri al-Maliki. Again, to me, I'm not drinking all of this Kool-Aid. There's no way right now. Again, they're using Maliki to mask things. But I have other articles that actually tell us from a very small angle that Sudani still has his foot in the door. And Sudani possibly has this. Because again, Iraq's talking to us out of both sides of their mouth, left and right. From like the left side, they're talking about as though they favor Maliki. Okay? Let me close this out. I'm going to take you to another one. And right here. Again, so that last one showed that they are potentially favoring Maliki, but I've already showed you guys historically, Maliki doesn't even have enough votes in this. Okay, he needs a 2/3 majority. One of the last articles I showed you is that he only had about a 50%, if even that, vote towards being able to even achieve it. So right now, news has suggested he doesn't even have enough votes to achieve a 2/3 majority vote of getting in as prime minister. Sudani takes center stage amid widespread objections to Maliki, right there. Okay. In this one, it says, focus has shifted back to the Council of Representatives of Iraq. Elect the President of the Republic to enable designation of the largest parliamentary bloc. Assign the Prime Minister according to constitutional procedure. Widespread objections towards Maliki, external pressure, and sanctions risk. Again, that's from what Trump's threats, if they even considered putting Maliki back in. Proposal to formalize the largest bloc. Let's read that. Within the coordination framework, there's a discussion of merging. Guys, look at this. This is important. There's a discussion of merging the State of Law Coalition and Sudani's bloc, Reconstruction and Development Coalitions. This would increase a bloc approximately of 81 MPs, officially establishing the largest bloc status, secure constitutional right to nominate the PM, and end the debate over entitlement. Al-Sudani emerges as the leading candidate. I hope you guys just saw this right here and paid attention to this one. So they're suggesting that the coordination framework might merge with Reconstruction and Development, bumping them up to the largest block of 81 MPs, and that would push Sudani as the leading candidate. Hope you guys saw that. Okay. Again, that's what I'm trying to say right now. The news is so all over the board politically. They're talking out of both sides of their mouth, so we are in the dark. We don't know what's going on. We don't know the truth. Okay. And we have to see what's going on. Okay. And again, as we get closer towards next weekend, and again, the period of this week of Tuesday to Thursday will be important to see what happens and how their politics play out in this, to where we can really see, what's delaying this. Are they trying to mask and hide the rate change date from us through their actions of the politics so we don't know what's going on? Or is it more Iran and U.S. military actions that are delaying this? Okay. So again, we have to see right now. Remember that we don't have a Dinar for Dummies guidebook in this that tells us, every step to every known step, everything to look for. We're all in the dark in this together. So regardless, some people keep talking about this happening in the second half of 26. Absolutely not. We're not waiting till the second half of 26 on this. Okay. In my opinion, we're not that far away. Again, right now, I'm still resting and just comfortably positioned within the month of February because I want to see what happens through this week. And the rate, if there isn't any type of military actions being a delay in this, the rate could change in the month of February if they were to get the president done somewhere through this new week, next week. If they could get the president done and he announces, it has to be Sudani. If they announce Sudani as the PM, because again, he has a done, completed, formed cabinet, and that right there could push them towards approval by Parliament quickly, being Sudani and his completely already existing cabinet. They could approve that quickly and wrap up the government quickly, again, allowing the rate to change within this month of February. Otherwise, if they put a different PM in there, he would need 30 days to form his cabinet, which could push it more in towards March. Again, nobody knows the outcome of this or how it's going to play out. So it's very important. We've got to see how everything transpires in this, okay? Let's see what else there is for news. But I wanted you to see that this is actually a more of a kind of a critical, detailed article, and it's very suggestive that there's a good chance Sudani has his foot in the door. Plus, if you just look at this from a common sense angle, who's turned the entire country around? Sudani has. So why would Iraq not put Sudani in? The citizens love Sudani. Sudani has done the most to turn the whole country around, earning the citizens' respect, securing the country, achieving overall critical stability. He's very well liked by top world leaders. Sudani is also very supportive and respectful towards the Trump administration. Okay. The Trump admin loves him because of what he's done towards turning the country around and achieving stability. But I also wanted you guys to realize, like I said a little while ago, if Iraq really had any type of political deadlock, then why isn't either the UN or the UN involved having meetings with Iraq towards helping them resolve these so-called disagreements on a deadlock? Think about that. Again, the news isn't truthful right now, and it's not credible. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else that's real critical in this. Here's an interesting one. Let's look at this. Iraq is considering opening a special platform for small traders to buy dollars. Okay. Not real critical. Kind of interesting, though. And as you guys see at the end of the day, nothing right now in Iraq's even moving forward. They're talking about still the step of implementing tariffs. Okay. Getting trade going. And again, the value of the parallel dollar in Iraq is still around 150,000 per 100 US dollars. The reason why is because they still have to use the dollar for trade, and they're promoting and launching trade. So again, that's raising their inflation because they're doing that. So they can't let all these actions drag out. That right there, the angle, the fact that the parallel dollar is slowly climbing and going up in value and it's raising their inflation, that's just more proof they can't let this wait and drag forever. Okay? And they're not. They're going to get this done. Remember, historically, all the way up until the year of 2021, that was the last year they did a single one-year annual budget. Every time they've done a single one-year annual budget, they've always had them approved by the end of March, having the budgets ready for the period of April 1st. Okay, so again, now this is just from a common sense opinion angle. Doesn't mean it's accurate or correct. Okay. Normally, again, they have the budgets done by the end of March, ready for April 1st. They still, even after the rate changes, they still have 30 days worth of tasks to do. They have to approve the 26 budget, which needs 3 full readings. They have to approve 150 plus laws. They have to amend, approve, and implement some of the reforms. So again, they have 30 days worth of steps to do. They would need at least a month, a 30-day period, most likely the month of March to do that. So from a logical angle, it, again, just plain old common sense, doesn't mean anything I'm saying is right or accurate. It does make the most sense for them to do the rate change right now in February so they could be traditionally ready, as they always have in the past, with budgets and budget periods ready for April 1st. Okay. Again, just sharing that with you guys. Doesn't mean anything's correct, though. We have to see how this plays out right now. We don't have any type of guidebook in this that says you're going to see X, Y, Z, PDQ happen. It's all in the dark. It's, at the end of the day, it's everyone's best guess, okay? So, friends, that is really it with all the latest articles and latest news right now. Again, it's so hard to decipher what's credible, what's accurate, because, again, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. From one side, they say Maliki's got this. From the other side, they say Sudani's got this. And then last week, early to mid last week, they talked about the president potentially getting voted on this Sunday, and then tomorrow is Sunday. And as we see today's credible news, here's the parliamentary agenda schedule. They don't have the president on that. And now they're talking about maybe more reaching an agreement and being ready to possibly vote on the president during the first few days of Ramadan, which again starts somewhere around February 17th. So would they be ready to vote on the president next Wednesday, next Thursday? Again, we don't know. We have to see. We just have to take this 1 week at a time and see how everything plays out. Friends, you're the best. Hope you guys are all doing amazing, staying healthy. Best of luck to all of you, and thank you for joining, friends. Have a great weekend. Take care.